So let's talk a little bit about the is A and has A relationship in Java. And really what the purpose of discussing this is because in Java you are pretty soon going to find, as you are programming in Java, that classes don't stand alone. That classes actually need to depend on other classes, that you really have relationships between classes. So one class is going to be related to another class in some way. And they are usually going to be related through either an is A relationship or a has A relationship. Let me give you some examples here, so you can see that there is some relationships that we just think about in real life, which are relationships like a cat is an animal, a car, where it has wheels, it has an engine, a train also has wheels and an engine, a car and a truck, they are both vehicles. So you can see how these classes or these objects in real life are related to each other. And both of these relationships that I'm talking about here, in all these cases, are either an is A relationship or a has A relationship. We said that a cat is an animal, a car has wheels, a car has an engine. Really, when you think about how do I tell the difference between inheritance or composition, it's as simple as that. If you would say that something is another type or a subtype of a type, then it's an inheritance relationship. And if you would say something has another thing, then it's a composition relationship. And really all that means is that inheritance means that something is related to another thing in a tree fashion, that it inherits from it, that it is a subtype. It's a more specialized type. And for composition, it just means that it's composite. So it's made up of these other types. And really this all comes from an important need in Java, which is to be able to reuse code. The reason why we model things this way is it's partially to make things a little bit simpler and easier to understand in graphs. But really a lot of it comes down to the ability to reuse code. Either to reuse some code that is common for two types, or to be able to reuse some code that operates on a type so that it will operate on multiple types that are alike in some way. So let's take a look at what specifically is inheritance. If you look at this example out of here, you can see that I have an example of an animal and a cat. And a cat really is an animal. It is a type of animal. So this relationship is appropriate, and when you think about what's going to happen here, why are we modeling inheritance this way? One of the reasons is because an animal might have a lot of things that it does that all animals do. For example, animals eat, most animals I think sleep, and they reproduce. So all of these types of functionality you could basically build into an animal class. And then if you had a cat class, you wouldn't want to have to repeat all of that. You would want to be able to utilize. You want to be able to say, a cat is an animal, but here's what it does differently. And so I'm going to specialize it, and this really comes in play if you had multiple types. You had a dog and a raccoon or whatever types of animals. You would want to be able to share this common code, this common functionality from animal amongst all of those derivatives of the animal type or the subtypes of animals. That's really what inheritance is. It's really saying that something is another type. And one caution with inheritance is you have to make sure that your type really is going to be treated as that other type, which means that it needs to be able to be substituted anywhere that the higher level of the base type would be used. So for example, in this case, if you had some code that was using an animal, anything that inheritance from animal should be able to be used by that code. Otherwise, your relationship is kind of broken, because if a cat can't be used anywhere that an animal was used, if a cat isn't truly an animal in all of the contexts that an animal is used, then it really is not properly modeled with an inheritance relationship. And one thing that you will find as we discuss this a little bit later is that there is a very few things that are actually truly an is A relationship. A lot of times you are going to find some way that relationship breaks, and that can cause a lot of problems in your code if you are dependent on it. So now let's take a look at composition. Composition really is a much simpler topic. It is something that I think we understand a little bit easier, which is basically that something is made up of some other parts. So in this example here, I have got a car, and inside a car, you can see I have got wheels. I have got engine. A car is made up of these things. So you have a car, and then a car contains some wheels, contains an engine. It's really simple relationship. And anytime that you see this kind of relationship, you can model it as composition. And I'm going to show you a Java code how to model both inheritance and composition. But this is the basic idea of composition. It's also known as aggregation, which is that this car is made up of these other classes, and that's how these classes are related to each other.